Story 1. Seattle area reporting in. We still have power, but a lot of our neighbors are out. Trash can fell over. Other than that, not bad. Who knows what we'll wake up to? Story 2. I live on the Strait of Juan de Fuca. We have had 50 to 60 miles per hour gusts in the surrounding area and about 40 maximum where we are. Currently, it just feels like the windstorms we get every other week in the area. I'm sure the last big storm did a good job of knocking down any trees that needed to go. But it seems that outside the area where I am, people are getting hit much harder. The mountains really do mitigate some of the wind. Story 3. Issaquah, Washington. We've been without electricity since 6 p.m. Numerous downed trees, a few people's roofs damaged from fallen trees, and roads blocked by fallen trees. One homeless woman in Seattle died from a fallen tree. I live next to a construction site, and one of their metal signs has been blowing around, hitting everything like a pinball machine. Story 4. Not going to hit us here in the Bay Area until tomorrow. If I remember, I will let you know. We are only supposed to get the southern edge, but this is supposed to be the biggest storm to ever hit the West Coast. Edit. Light rain, mild wind at 7:30 a.m. Edit. Misty rain, almost no wind at 10 a.m. Edit. Steadier rain, still relatively light. A little more wind and gusts, nothing extreme but noticeably stronger. 12 o'clock noon. Story 5. Olympic Peninsula here. We had intense winds all afternoon. Power was out to 11,000 of our county's 77,000 people. Trees down over the highways. Traffic lights out. Pretty much our typical Northwest Washington November. Story 6. Hasn't hit here just yet. Donner Pass, Mid-Sierras, but we are expecting 15 to 25 inches of snow tomorrow with winds in the 20s, turning to a mix of rain and snow on Thursday. We are near the southern edge of this bomb cyclone. A pretty middling late fall storm for the pass. A real winter storm is typically 3 to 5 feet at my elevation of 7,000 feet, with winds 30 to 60 miles per hour. Story 7. Pretty exciting on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Many trees down. Power is out in many locations around the island, even those on the east side, and winds are gusting to 110 kilometers per hour, 70 miles per hour, and set to continue well into tomorrow. We're cozy here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the waves tomorrow, expected to reach shore around 8 meters, 26 feet, which is always a good time. It's nothing we haven't seen before, but there do seem to be quite a few trees down this time. Wind had a lull, but seems to be picking back up. Story 8. Seattle here. Our big windstorms typically come up from the south. Right now we are getting wind on par with our larger storms, but it is coming largely from the east as the cyclone curls in against the Cascades. It is pretty odd, slightly disorienting. We have had a really wet November, so the rain isn't very novel. Thankfully, we had king tide a week ago. Otherwise, we might have flooding from the drop in atmospheric pressure. See December 2022. Story 9. My power blipped, and it restarted my router. I went almost a full minute without internet. Felt like the 1900s. Just imagine if I had been on the toilet. Story 10. North Seattle is showing power outages blanketing the area. I've heard a few transformers blow in the neighborhood. We often get bad windstorms in November, so most people will be fine. Story 11. Not good. My mom and her husband made the news. They were the couple that was trapped in their trailer by a tree in Maple Valley, Washington. They are in stable condition, but seeing pictures of their accident on the news really sucked. Story 12. Vancouver Island here. Rain coming in sideways. Lots of trees down, my friend lost 3 fence panels, and my roof at work is leaking. Pooh Bear would say it's a blustery day. Story 13. I'm in the Mount Shasta Valley, Northern California. We are experiencing intermittent power outages with winds measured at 72 miles per hour. I'm sleeping in my basement with the dogs and noise-canceling headphones as every gust makes me feel like my roof is going to blow off. Story 14. Mount Rainier is a lovely shield, and I've got absolutely nothing going on at my house in her shadow. Not even a breeze, not a drop of rain. It's almost eerily calm out there. However, areas out of the shadow are getting hit pretty hard with high winds. Lots of trees down, lots of power outages. Story 15. Just north of Seattle. Periodic big gusts and some little brownouts with lots of flickering, but I'm a little underwhelmed with the actual wind speeds. I've seen worse. We did have a pretty significant transformer explosion just down the street. It lit up the whole backyard and shook the house, but, incredibly, didn't seem to phase our power at all. I usually hate windstorms, but my current house is both surrounded by nature and not close enough that I'm worried about trees falling on me in my sleep. So now I can just enjoy the atmosphere, which is lovely. I have my fingers crossed for more outages near me so I don't have to go to work tomorrow, but it's not looking very likely. All the major flickering seems to have passed us. Story 16. I live in the center of Vancouver Island, and it hasn't been too bad here so far. I think a lot of places are getting it worse than us. We did lose power briefly a few times, but other than that it seems relatively calm. Story 17. It's worse than I thought it would be. My power has been flickering for hours. Lots of people in my city have lost power, and there are trees falling onto the roadways and houses. It's still windy and raining sideways, but I luckily still have power at my house. Hopefully, it stays out at work so I don't have to go in tomorrow. Story 18. North of Seattle here, no power since 8 p.m. School is canceled for the kids tomorrow. Snuggled in bed with one of my kids because she can't handle the dark, and every time the wind hits a window, it rattles. But I have a home to shelter in, no trees around that are big enough to do any damage, and we are warm. Story 19. I'm in the North Bay area, and it's not even sprinkling as of now, 10 p.m. Tuesday. My friends up in Humboldt are getting slammed, but they're used to it. I miss it. Story 20. Currently in Courtenay, British Columbia. Scattered power outages, but I'm visiting from the East Coast, and I can tell you that this is a walk in the park compared to a Northeaster. Story 21. It's 10:30 p.m. here in Willamette Valley. It's been raining a lot. I was really happy about 3 hours ago when it was really windy. Now the wind is gone and it's just rain, rain, rain. I hope the wind comes back strong. Story 22. Portland here. Decent bit of wind, more rain than usual. We lost power in my neighborhood for a few hours earlier. I am assuming a tree went down. This is pretty chill, honestly. We get weather like this all the time. I used to live in Astoria of Goonies fame and rode a couple of these out. It was honestly kind of fun. I will be working outdoors and driving a big rig in it tomorrow, so that will be slightly less fun. Story 23. About 25 miles north of Seattle here. A tree fell in the road in front of me on my drive home from the store. The lights have flickered a fair bit, but we still have power. Story 24. Kirkland. The windows are creaking, and you can hear things falling over outside. Puget Sound Energy says 2,600 outages are affecting more than 360,000 customers. We lost power about an hour ago. Story 25. Gresham, Oregon. I can confirm it is wet and nasty. However, activities continue undisturbed. No loss of power, but someone did steal my neighbor's Kia and raced it through the complex, getting air on the speed bumps until it flew out of the driveway and into another neighbor's car before taking off. That was interesting. Story 26. Up here in La Push, the lights have been out since around noon yesterday, and trees are falling. There's a bit of flooding, but that's normal. Story 27. The center is 300 miles offshore. It's not really a big deal in Oregon. It's a bit windy up in Washington and British Columbia. It's nothing like the Columbus Day storm or the Great Coastal Gale. What's crazy is the media is making a big deal out of this, even though it's nothing compared to the Great Coastal Gale, which the media outside of the local area said nothing about. Story 28. Metro Vancouver checking in. The weather station closest to the marina where I keep my sailboat was reporting 62 knots gusting to 76. But looking at automatic identification system, my boat is still in the correct spot, pointed in the correct direction. Also, my power system shows that the power is still online, so that's good. We'll probably head out there tomorrow afternoon just to make sure everything is okay. Story 29. suburb of Vancouver, British Columbia. It blew over half of our backyard stuff. But we got lucky. We did not lose power like other folks, although our lights flickered a bit. And a few trees came down, but not in our neighborhood. Wind chill temperatures were wild. It said 7 degrees, but wind chill made it feel like -2. Story 30. Update from Vancouver Island. We now have many roads closed due to downed trees and power lines, some washouts, and the rain and wind are still relentlessly pounding. Story 31. It's been interesting. I'd like to know what conclusions you come to and what you're trying to prove or disprove. Your queries were respectful and friendly, and I appreciate that. By the way, yellow is my second favorite color. Our kitchen was all different shades of yellow, leaning toward the natural tones. Have a great night, Jody. Story 32. I'm eagerly awaiting the stormy winds in Vancouver. I love all of the recent branding of storms. Bomb cyclone, atmospheric river, as if people aren't terrified enough. Story 33. I am on a 52-foot motor yacht, a trawler really, in San Francisco Bay, and the currents and waves have been very rough. With the action coming in from off the coast, the water gets really bouncy. But hey, we need the rain. Story 34. 180,000 people are without power in British Columbia. I have power, though. Where I live, southeast of Vancouver, there was a huge gust of wind a couple of hours ago. I heard a tree slapping against my apartment building's walls, and a recycling bin containing glass got knocked over, so that was noisy. So far, there's been almost no rain here. Story 35. I am on the coast in Northern California, and the wind really picked up about 3 hours ago, and the rain started an hour ago. We are charging our devices and extra flashlights. We expect to lose power in the night. Story 36. Well, it has not started here yet, but my clothes on the line were almost air dry. Then the humidity came up and no rain yet, but they are somehow more wet than they were 3 hours ago. I have a flight to catch and need to pick up free sandbags tomorrow morning, so we'll see how all that pans out. Story 37. Southern Oregon coast about a mile inland. We lost power a couple of hours ago, and the rain is moderate. Hopefully, we just have to clear some small trees on the road tomorrow morning and do not have to deal with any slides. Nothing really extraordinary, though. I think we dodged the worst of it. Story 38. Sammamish, Washington, has been experiencing heavy wind for the last couple of hours. The power stayed on for quite a while, but it's out now. I'm on the phone and have several battery packs. The banana supply is decent. We have 5, but my wife is only 5 feet 2 inches and weighs 116 pounds. I think I can manage if we start to run low. Story 39. I storm prepped, informed everyone I knew, cleared the deck, made no-cook food for potential long outages, parked my car far away from any trees. Apparently, I'm in a small protected pocket. Light breeze. Friends 15 minutes away are talking about it howling with no power. I never thought I'd be disappointed by not getting hit hard by weather. Story 40. Last I heard, we are all heading underground where it's dry. I started digging. The atmospheric river waterline is high on the riverbank. I've got sandbags to protect my house. For now, everyone is on the first floor to stay low and safe. Story 41. Seems to be pretty localized. Here in the Olympia area, at the south end of Puget Sound in Washington, we're getting heavy rain but not really any wind to speak of. Story 42. Over 100,000 people affected in Seattle proper, according to Seattle City Light. Puget Sound energy outage map is lit up like a Christmas tree. I am in the greater Seattle area city of Kirkland, and you can hear trees cracking in a deep, eerie way. Tons of tiny branches everywhere. Dad has the scanner on, and there have been plenty of calls since around 7 p.m. for downed branches and lines. It's not the worst, but not great. Story 43. Just north of Seattle. It's gusting hard. Just lost power, but the generator is keeping my Christmas lights on so I can flex to my neighbors sitting in the dark. Story 44. Juneau, Alaska checking in here. We get these types of storms often. Unfortunately, the main hazard is coastal erosion, and we've had a series of fatal landslides in 3 separate communities in the last 4 or 5 years. Check out what happened to Kotzebue a few weeks back. Also, I'm on a flight that departed Seattle-Tacoma International Airport a few hours ago, and the takeoff was sporty. Story 45. North of Seattle here. We have been without power for a few hours. We can hear branches and limbs cracking. The transformer blew up in front of our house. It is calm, but then every few minutes you get a big gust. Story 46. Boring here in Oregon on the inland side of the Coast Range. It's been raining all day, and it was last week too. I am going up to Detroit Lake area after work on Friday to check on my yurt. It should be fine in gale force winds, but my neighbors never tie down anything, and I am worried that their belongings will blow onto it. Story 47. Skagit County here. Lots of wind. Not heavy rain, but the annoying sideways kind. A lot of my area has lost power, but I haven't. Overall, it's nothing compared to a hurricane. Story 48. Buckley reporting, dark up here by the mountain. Puget Sound Energy says about 4,000 are out of power until 10 a.m. Wind still blowing and no rain, so you can't tell how bad the wind is without rain hitting the house. Generators running everywhere. Story 49. Here in Eugene, Oregon, we seem to be just barely missing the worst of it. Windy and rainy, but no more than usual. We had a microburst roll through here last week that was amazing at about 3 a.m., lasting for maybe 10 minutes. Rearranged my back porch. Story 50. About 30 minutes southeast of Seattle proper. Just spent an hour out driving in the mess. Loads of wind. Power has been out for the last 5 hours, with no estimate on when it will be back on. Trees are down, causing multiple main and minor road closures. There are tons of broken branches and pine cones on any roadways near evergreen trees. Everything is dark. Surreal. Story 51. You can see the storm in real time here. Story 52. I don't have a floor jack and am trying to get a tire shop to mount my snow tire and winter wheels, but can't get in for another week. I'm wondering if it's because everyone is doing what I'm doing in case Sierras get a dump. Story 53. Hey, I live on the coast not too far away from Vancouver Island. I've barely gotten anything above cold, harsh wind and a drizzle, but people on the island have posted that it's somewhat bad.